What is the one thing that most business owners say is their best source of new business? It's word of mouth referrals. But are you leveraging this for your business and do you know how to make it really work its butt off for you? It's easier than you think to master the art of referrals, even if you are super shy or not comfortable asking for them. In today's episode, I talked to David Smurden from Referral Formula, who's going to share the secrets to this amazingly powerful free marketing tactic. You're going to love what he has to say. Welcome to Sales Without Socials. If you too are mentally exhausted from the constantly changing algorithms, you're not getting a return on the blood, sweat, and tears you put into your social media efforts, and know there must be a better way to market your business, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Tanya Williams. I love pink, wearing 4-inch heels, and being the sparkly chief of everything at Digital Conversations. In the last 6 months, I have transformed my business growth by doubling down on the marketing strategies that actually work, and that doesn't include Facebook ads, Reels, or silly TikToks. So if you're like me and you're sick of being on the social media hamster wheel and want to focus your time on marketing strategies that don't suck your time without a result, then make sure you subscribe and keep listening. Are you with me? Let's dive in. And you know what? Let's have a little bit of fun along the way. Hello and welcome to the Sales Without Socials podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Williams, Chief of Everything at Digital Conversations, a Brisbane-based marketing consultant and trainer helping B2B service-based business owners with simple marketing tactics to generate new business and increase the eyeballs on your brand. Before I deep dive into today's episode, I'd invite you to download Social Free Sales, which covers 7 ways to supercharge your sales without a single social media post. Now, these are just a few thought starters, and I'm going to cover more of these on future podcast episodes. Plus, I'm also going to cover a load more marketing tactics that don't include Facebook ads, Reels, or silly TikToks. Go to saleswithoutsocials.com.au and grab your copy now. Hello, everybody. It is Tanya Williams, Chief of Everything here at Digital Conversations, and welcome to another episode of Sales Without Socials. And we're talking about a really juicy subject today, and one that I can't wait to dive into. And it's all about referrals, right? And referrals, we seem to call them the holy grail of marketing, because what's the one thing that you ask when you ask someone what the best form of advertising is? They always say word of mouth referrals. So, what a great topic for us to dive into and find out how we can be doing this stuff a lot better than you probably are right now. And there's one person that I knew I needed to talk to when I decided to cover this topic, and his name is David Smurden. Now, David is a bit of an expert in this area, and he's going to share some awesome tips with us. So, Dave, welcome.
Hey Tanya, how you going? Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Absolute pleasure. And do you want to tell people a bit about your background so they have a bit of context in terms of your experience and where you're from?
Yeah, sure. I started, I guess, my career about 20 something years ago as a media planner buyer. So I bought space on TV and radio and outdoor and things like that. Moved over to pure digital for a little while, into strategy, leadership roles in full service creative agencies. So working with some amazing creative teams, built some lots of great campaigns. And then I worked in the senior kind of brand side of things and marketing side in the education and charity sectors. And so I've always really been interested in marketing strategy, customer experience, and generally how ideas spread. So this led me to this path now.
Cool. So, I have done one of your courses that you've created, and I want to dive in a little bit deeper to that. Where did you get the idea for the referral formula, which was we're going to touch on a little bit today and share some tips for that? But where did that idea come from?
So it's been bubbling in my head for some time. As I said, I've worked in creative agencies and done lots of campaigns and things with big clients. And that's always been really fun. But the idea now of speaking to many business owners over the last 20 odd years and a lot of conversations more recently with smaller business owners, there's been some frustrations, let's say, in some of the work they're trying to do. So, a couple of them just off the top. Content marketing can be really time consuming for many businesses,
Yeah.
especially for those smaller, mid-sized businesses. They may not, have a big team of people. Um, they might write that content and put their heart and soul into it, and then put it out in the ether, and not much happens. So they don't get that return on investment that they've been looking for. Being a slave to social media can be really exhausting, and I think the good work that you're doing at the moment on Sales Without Socials, you're addressing this problem. And I feel like there's a bit of a movement happening at the moment where people are a little bit sick and tired of being across so many different channels and different platforms. And that notion of just focusing and reducing those number of platforms and just having to navigate yet another social tech platform can be really daunting for people. So we see a lot of pullback. We've talked about it before. I've seen it with my clients. You've seen it with your clients. And that notion of just coming back a little bit and saying, I just want to do a few things really well, and I might not be overly technical, and a lot of people aren't. I think there's some assumptions made in the marketing communication space that everyone's a wizard, but that's just not the truth.
Mhm.
But by far, the biggest frustration that I see is around this, and it's turned into worry for some clients as well. Is this notion of the rising cost of advertising, and how do I attract my next customer? This idea of lead generation is getting harder and harder. And don't get me wrong, I love advertising. Some of my best friends and brilliant creative people work in advertising, and it can be a real differentiator for a lot of businesses. But it's the cost of production and paid media
Yeah.
that is locking some smaller clients out. So all that kind of came along and started to bubble up in my mind about what could I do to try and help? What could I try and do to solve those problems? Um, so if you look at some of those tactics you're trying to deploy to grow your business, I kind of looked at one core question. So of all of these strategies and tactics, what could you do that could be really effective and realistic as a small to medium sized business owner? Because I think you could do anything if you had $10 million,
Oh,
but not many of us do. So that led me to this kind of what is the thing on the big table of all things you could do as a small to medium sized business? What could you do?
absolutely, and I totally agree with the whole tech thing because I mean, even me working in the space of digital tech just does my head in at times, and a lot of small business owners that I work with as well. When you start to talk about tech, you can see their eyes cloud over. It's like, oh my god, like I'm already starting to feel overwhelmed by that. And I think
Yeah.
post pandemic, people are wanting simple. They
Yep.
want less channels, easy to do, less time. Like, how can we do this in less time and in a really simple way that's not going to stress me and worry me and send me down a spiral, so to speak. So it's really important to look at things like this. And I think referrals are that word of mouth marketing is so powerful. And as we
Mm,
mentioned before, when you ask someone, what's your best channel? And they go, oh, word of mouth. Makes
yep.
sense, right? So, I mean, that's typically the response that most people give, right? It's like word of mouth is the best form of marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you're 100% right. For as long as you and I and others have been in marketing, and well before our time, word of mouth has been the bastion of the top of the tree, if you like, in terms of great responses. There's a natural organic feel to word of mouth that
Yeah.
feels right. And really, you look at the stats, 90% of purchases these days in some way can be attributed back to word of mouth. It's 10 times more effective than traditional advertising. But the real rub for me is that less than 1% of businesses actually have a defined plan for word of mouth or specifically referrals.
Isn't
So
it crazy to
I
think
know
so
it's
powerful has got like no one's planning for it and doing anything strategically to do that.
absolutely, absolutely. And I've got a theory for you, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and I know that word of mouth is the thing that people go to and want more of, and it's a given. There's no debate about it being so powerful.
Yeah.
But most businesses don't actively plan for it, and the reason I think that is because we see it as this really organic process. It can't be messed with in some way. So two friends are talking at a coffee shop, and they start talking about your business. Now, you're not sitting next to them in that coffee shop, so you're outside of that circle of influence, if you like. And for that, sometimes people feel like they don't have control of it. So it can be really tricky to plan for and predict.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I'm a big believer in this idea of you can increase your word of mouth, you can strategically plan for it, you can have really unique products and innovation within your business, you can have great customer service, you can do a lot of things to kind of move the needle closer to your side. But it is a little bit in the ether, word of mouth. It is hard to kind of, it's like grabbing hold of air. I make the analogy to some of my clients. It's like great holiday weather. So just imagine you're going to a tropical island and you're there for 7 days. And you say to yourself, every one of those 7 days, I want to be bright sunshine. Word of mouth's a little bit the same. Every day I want to get bright sunny days on my holiday, and every day I want to get word of mouth in my business. But I can't control the weather, and sometimes I feel like I can't control word of mouth. But
Yeah.
I think there are some tactics, and so what I've done recently is just go a little bit deeper into that big table of word of mouth, as I talk about a lot,
Yeah.
and nail that down to a particular area, and that's where I ended up focusing my attention around referrals.
Yeah.
So the thing that I love about referrals is you've got a business and it's solved a real identified need for your client. Could be a product, could be service, could be digital work that you do, lots of different examples. They have a really good experience with that product or service, and they're compelled to talk about that to their friends and their families. And that to me it's a really direct input. And that's where that trust kind of builds up. And unlike the coffee table chat that might be seen as kind of loose word of mouth, referrals is a little bit more structured, and you've got this opportunity to try and talk to your clients, or I'll talk to you in a moment about the subtleties around that and how people can actually then go and say, hey, look, you should go and talk to Tanya. She's great at what she does. Here's her number. Here's her email address. And so that more direct approach is, I think,
Mhm.
where you don't waste as much time.
So, why are they so powerful? And I think obviously a part of that definitely is that trust factor because, if my good friend tells me that something's good, I'm more likely to believe that than a total stranger, right? But what
Yeah.
what are the other reasons why referrals are so powerful for businesses?
Yeah. It's quite when you boil down to the psychology of it and the art and the science together, if you like, of referrals, it gets really interesting. So, you talked about the trust. I think that's right at the top of the list there. If you've known someone for 20 years and they've recommended that product or business to you, no amount of advertising that can be that impactful, that influential,
Absolutely.
and really at the essence of it, a referral is a direct personal endorsement of your business.
Yeah.
And that in itself has its own sort of power. And you, as the person giving that advice to your friend, it's on you. So it's actually something that you have put your own personality, your own brand, if you like, onto this to say, I recommend this restaurant or this digital service or whatever it might be. If it doesn't go well, it's on you as well.
Yeah.
So as a person giving counsel to who you should work with, we often think pretty long and hard about it. We don't want to get into a situation where we send our friends and our family down a garden path. Just some other kind of reasons why referrals work. The cost to acquire a new client is often much less via a direct referral than traditional paid lead generation.
Yeah.
Um, you can target your clients a little bit better with referrals. And this is one area that I've kind of uncovered in the last couple of years, which I never gave too much thought to when I was working in agencies. But this whole notion that I want to find people with the same sort of worldview as me. I have a certain set of values as a business owner or as a marketing manager. And I love working with people that share those values. And with referrals, you can actually try to guide that a little bit better and try and say, well, I love X client. I've worked with them for a long time. They're extremely close to me, both personally and from a business sense. And if they've got friends like them, I'd love to talk to them. And that, I think, it makes a really lovely connection. You start to build clients you want to work with. And I think, again, that has its own kind of positivities. Um, Preferred prospects, they convert much more quickly. Usually the friend identifies the need. And I think that's one of the real differences between, say, word of mouth out in the wide world and referrals. That idea that your friend has good radar on the problems or the challenges you might have in your life, and when they see that pop up, they've got a solution for them. And it's kind of in our DNA to be able to be helpful like that. So they propose a solution, and that person they've got an identified need and they're usually ready to go. So they convert more quickly. And there's been some studies to suggest that referrals actually generate about 16% more profit also,
That makes
than
sense really when you look at the numbers, right?
yeah, totally, totally. So there's lots of advantages, and I'll leave you with this last one because I think to me this is the big thing that kind of unlocks the power of referrals. So for me, the biggest advantage is, so you're a business owner, you're focusing on delighting your existing customers. So they become referrers, or even better, and we might talk about this later, the idea of super referrers. So
Mhm.
this is really rewarding work. So if you're a business owner and you are delighting your own customers to such a high degree that they want to tell all their friends and family, then that makes coming to work really, really great. It feels good to kind of do it. So
Yeah,
it's easier to retain people, to hire people. Um, these are businesses that we want to be around. They're good people doing good work. So our kind of working title at the moment for my business referral formula is grow your business and feel great doing it. So grow your business is a given. That we've talked
yeah,
about that one, and but feel great doing it, I think, is the change that we're all looking for. Like, I want to bring my true self. I want to bring my own personality. I want to do it my way. And to do that and get out of this whole cycle of what I call grind marketing. So I got to stay up to 10 o'clock tonight and write that article. Here we go. Lock myself in. I'm ready to do it. Sometimes it's super valuable. You write some great content. But for some others and for many in the marketing space, it is a real toil for them. It's hard to do. They're not natural writers. So to get out of this grind and start getting into relationship marketing a little bit more. And that for me, this idea of welcoming your friends and your family of your clients, it just builds the tribe. And for some particular industries, and especially that idea of that, the high value service businesses like you're in, like financial advisors, architects, builders, if you get one or two more clients a month, and that makes the business completely different. That might mean tens of thousands of dollars for some businesses.
yeah.
So kind of it's work that's fun to do and it's terribly valuable.
Absolutely. I mean, they are so powerful, and the I'm glad you touched on the bring you joy as well, because I think we're in that place now where people are shifting, their focus in terms of, I don't want to be in that 9 to 5 grind and work in places that I hate working. I want to feel joy in my work. And that stuff spreads, right? So if you're
Yeah.
working in a great place, it has a great culture and so forth. So I've never thought of referrals in that way of going, you're always thinking about it from a sales and lead generation perspective, but
Mm,
really it does have a flow on effect to the bigger part of the business, where if people are, if everything's good and there's business coming through and people are happy and it's all like, it's a better place to be and a better place to work, which
that's
obviously
right.
then
Yeah.
helps with staff retention. So that's a
Yep.
really good point. I'd never thought of it that way.
And even post, like you're saying, post pandemic as well. Like
Yeah.
it,
What's
you,
changed?
we've all been on the hamster wheel. For anyone that's been in business for any period of time, um, there are things that you love doing, there's things that you hate doing. I was doing some research for the business, and I spoke to an old friend of mine, and she said, "I'm sick," and then she used some profanity, which I won't do on
Hey,
your
I'm cool with
podcast.
profanity.
And she said, I'll give you the G rated version of it. She said, I'm just sick and tired of being a slave to the socials. I've absolutely had enough of having this whole fight. It's me v Google, or me v Insta, or me v Facebook, and it's a hard battle to win. So if you look at that big world of the tech giants and move it over to your own world, your own circle of influence, and try and just delight those people that have already backed you. They've already said to you that I want to be part of your world. I want to be part of your business. So give them a bit more love. Let them know and understand that you're open to referrals, and then find a path through. And that's the process I've tried to develop.
And I think it's good too that you do have some sort of level of control over it, because when you're talking to others, these are the people that I want to work with. I want to work
Mm,
with more people like that. And if people have a really clear understanding of who you work with, then it's easier for them to refer to you, because
absolutely.
they can sort of do some of that work for you to go, yeah, actually this person's not the right fit, or hey,
Yeah.
this person's the perfect fit. So I think a lot of it comes back down to the conversations you're having with those people as well, to give them a really clear indication of who those perfect fit clients are for you.
Yes, yeah, and give them the tools. Like everyone's busy. There's no one is sitting down at midnight thinking how I can help a business 5 steps away from me. Getting through your own day, family commitments, life, whatever it might be, is hard enough. So just make it dead easy for people. Like, give them the roadmap, give them the tools, give them the words, help them along the way. And if you're a good business and you're a good person and you build up some trust and rapport and respect with people, they'll usually come and help you out. That's the
Yeah.
interesting thing. A lot of the reading that I've done in kind of the last 6 months or so has been around that idea that humans help humans. And sometimes we underestimate the benefit you can get from putting your hand up and asking for help. Generally, people will help you out.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I think we're all a bit afraid of being vulnerable, aren't we? Or
Yeah, yeah,
we're not, we're less than because we need that helping hand. But I think that's a really important point. But
yeah,
I mean, referrals aren't all created equal, right? As we've sort of spoken about, you can get referrals, and I've had this before where someone's referred someone to me, and they've just been the total wrong fit, just someone that I would not want to work with. And obviously, there's a whole way to handle that.
mm,
Can you share some tips on how to get quality referrals, like the referrals that are actually right for us or that we're looking for?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I've developed a referral formula, like it says on the tin, and at the heart of that is these 7 A's. So the 7 A's is the process, if you like, to go through to, as you say, find quality referrals. And I've
Yeah,
been in that situation before, and to try and get out of that is sometimes really awkward.
yeah, absolutely.
Someone has done the right thing. They've put someone in front of you, and it takes 5 minutes of drinking a coffee to work out that this might not work out.
Yeah,
So how do you avoid that situation? So if you don't mind, and I'm just conscious of time as
yeah,
well, I'd love to run through
yep.
these 7 A's just very briefly, because I think what it does for people when I've explained this to people, they've gone, okay, I've always thought of word of mouth as this thing in the ether, but what I'm trying to kind of develop at the moment is this idea that it can be a system and it should be a system.
Yeah,
Most things that work in marketing are some sort of organized process or system, and a formula as such is what I'm talking about. So the first A, step one, if you like, is asking or not. So, how do you let people know you're open to receive referrals? And that in itself is tricky. I think
yeah.
sometimes, do you ask, do you not? I think for a lot of people, that's like they kind of get all flinchy at that point.
And when do you ask? Do I ask, when I'm working with them, when I'm finished working with them, like all that
Yeah,
sort of stuff?
totally. Yeah, yeah. And look, people can be really scared of asking. It can be terribly kind of daunting process. And I've got two approaches, and I've gone full circle on this in the last kind of couple of months, because there's some people out there that would suggest never, ever, ever ask for a referral. It's sacrilege. You don't do it. It will harm the relationship. It'll do all sorts of bad things, and you're in strife. And there's other people, and some of my clients, in fact, are the complete opposite end of that spectrum, where they will say, I've built a quality business, I work really hard, I've built a rapport with maybe a couple of individual clients, where I feel comfortable to ask them for a referral. And we have a shared agreement almost where I'm going to help their business and they're going to help my business. And I can talk a little bit later about this idea of a complementary network that you have. But for me, it's so there's two options. You come out and you do the direct ask. I had a client once say to me that, what do you mean I'm not going to ask? I would leave so many great referrals on the table if at the right time, and importantly with the right language, I just put it out there. And I just said, look, if you know anyone, I'm a business built on referrals. If you know anyone who could use my services, be very humble, get the language and the tone and the timing really right.
Yeah,
But in that case, those couple of clients, you can ask them. Now, the other side of it, and this is something that I think is really important, is the no ask. So what do I do when I just can't get the courage, or it's just not my personality type. As I said, the spectrum of different clients that we've probably both worked with. I've got a client that I've worked with who runs a yoga studio. Most beautiful person in terms of her personality. She's very softly spoken, amazing kind of creative person. But the idea of fronting up and eyeballing someone and saying, "Can you give me a referral?" is terrifying, and it would never fit her.
Yeah.
And I would never say to her to go and do that because it would break her spirit and her heart. But the idea of saying, well, what do I do if I don't ask? Now, I've come up with an idea that's called the subtle referral cues.
Mhm.
So you can have all of these things within your business that are not eyeballing someone across a table, which some people will find terribly offensive, but there are things, there's a bubbling up within their business where they see this sort of language on a landing page. And a great example of this no asking or the subtle referral cues is the idea of you do get a referral and then you call them out publicly. So you might have a podcast like this, or you might have a newsletter or something on your website or on your socials where you call out Sue Jones. She has just given us a referral. We'd like to thank Sue. She's been a loyal customer for ours for X amount of years. We've just done this fantastic project with her, and she's been kind enough to invite her good friend such and such into our business. That builds this beautiful rapport. And done in the right way, and with all the permissions in the world, you have to ask your
Yeah.
client if that's okay. Over time, across all of these different channels in your business, you are seen to be this business that is open for referrals, that culturally want to receive referrals. So I'm very much of this idea of if you want to ask and you're very careful about it and you have the right personality match with your client, go for it. That's up to you. It's your business. You do what you think is most right. And if you don't want to ask, there's 20 tactics underneath that can suggest that you become known as a business that is built on referrals. And I think the combination of those two things can be really powerful as well. So
Mhm.
you might have two clients where you went to school together. You have talked about everything under the sun, and asking them how's business and what's going on at the moment, and you're up for referrals, is something that would just come naturally and not a problem. And then the other maybe 70 or 80% of that person's business, work on the cues, build it up, build this kind of muscle memory that you are a referral business, and people see and they do, right? So this idea of constantly seeing that you're bringing in all these referrals, and then how can I do that as well? And then there's a lot of tactics that can sit underneath that.
Yeah.
So step two, and I'll rattle through these pretty quickly, but step two of the 7A's is advocates. So what are the processes where I can find my advocates, find my people? So they might be some of your staff, which is really interesting. Some of the best
They're
referrers.
often underutilized, aren't they? Your own
Yeah,
members are very
yeah, yeah.
underutilized. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm always a fan to try and bring the staff on this whole journey, so they understand you have this new culture that is accepting and completely, at peace with referrals, and they start to have that same see do mentality. And I've seen some amazing businesses where staff, like key staff, senior, junior, doesn't matter, have just got a knack for this stuff. They sales is not a dirty word. They're more than happy to try and see opportunity. And a lot of this is about just seeing opportunity and
Yeah.
then very tactfully and respectfully putting the right processes in place to execute against that. The third A on my 7A's is actions. And this is just the big laundry list of things you need to do. Their tactics, their processes. There's some that are really simple, some that are slightly more complicated. And the idea is that you look at the load of actions that you could possibly do, and then check a checkbox. The first five are really comfortable for me. I don't like 6 and 7. I'll come down to 9. Yes, that's good. And think about it across your different audiences. So staff, your clients, your partners. So this whole idea of a complementary business network is something that I'm trying to get across as well. So you've got your network, and it's the big circle, and it's got everyone and your uncle on there. Now your uncle might not necessarily be the best business contact. He doesn't know anything about your space, and so he's in your network, including family and others, but he's not in your complementary business network.
Yeah.
Now, in your particular case, as a digital specialist, There might be a researcher that works down the road. There might be a media agency. There might be someone else. And of those sort of complementary businesses, you have like minded values. You have the same intent in terms of wanting to grow your business via referrals. And it's a bit of a I scratch your back, you scratch mine type scenario. It's how business has been done forever,
Yeah.
but you're just formalizing it that little bit
Yeah,
more.
so you've probably got similar audiences. We're talking to the same people, but we do different things, and we actually complement each other, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And sometimes just opening up the dialogue, can be the first sometimes tricky step. Like, I'm not sure how should I approach this, but I've got
Yeah,
scripts and things like that to try and ease people into that sort of process. And like I said, it once you change your mindset a little bit around some of this stuff, it does get into the place where people just naturally then pop up. It's
yeah,
quite odd. Hi Tanya, I work for such and such, and I hear you've got this kind of network, this referral network thing going on. How do we be part of it? I'd love to. I want to grow my business via referrals as well. And the tribe starts to grow. Like
gotta
word
be
gets
open,
out.
don't you? You really have to be open to it and going, "I'm gonna,"
You
like,
do.
people know that, yeah.
Yeah, you do. So just quickly, number five is about, or number four, sorry, is about accelerator. So the accelerator, and this, you could build a whole course, and I nearly did, on this exact topic as well. Like the whole idea of, well, let's go before we start talking about referrals. Is my business referable? Is it share worthy? Is it a business where at the moment people are talking about it? At the moment, people feel like I give a great customer experience. Or are there deficiencies in the business where if I do a couple of simple things, I plug those gaps, and then the power of the referral, the engine starts to burn, and you get a lot more people in. But sometimes, if you just start at the referral side and say, hey, everyone join me, and you've got some kinks in your armor, and your business isn't as strong as what you believe it is, then that's got to be fixed before you get going.
Absolutely, yeah. The foundations, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So number five is articulation. This is a very short statement that outlines your referral philosophy, and it's a paragraph. But what it does, it really sets you up and gets your messaging right. Because once you have a well written, decent paragraph of information that says, this is who I am, this is what my referral philosophy is, my referral culture, if you like, then it can allow you to leap off and just start pumping out content. So, you can change your website off the back of that. You can have welcome emails. You can do all these things, but your anchor is this whole idea of your original articulation.
Yep.
Um, number six is your activity plan. So none of this means a thing if it's not in your calendar.
I have
And one thing,
conversation all the time with clients. It's like, "Great, we've got an idea or a plan. Do it." You have to actually
yeah,
do it for it to work.
oh yeah, yeah. Look, you and I have talked a lot about online courses and that sort of education space and things like that. I think I read somewhere that 3% of courses are completed to the end
It's
of
crazy.
online courses.
Yeah.
So we are great and very enthusiastic as good marketers and humans and business owners, to go out there and say, I need to acquire this knowledge. And then we're really good at completely ignoring it and not even finishing the course. And it's exactly the same when it comes to referral. So you think there's a great stat from Referral Rock. So Referral Rock is a big referral platform, I think, out of the States. And one of their stats is 83% of customers say they want to give a referral, but only 29% do. So the idea of thanking you for your good work, or even going as far as to referring a friend or a family member, it's in their heart. They believe they want to do that. 83% of people want to do that.
Yeah.
But the actual act of doing it, either they don't get to it or whatever. So the action plans part of it is touching base. Is constantly looking at your clients. You might have a review meeting coming up. You might have a kickoff with a new client, for example. Where in the calendar is the discussions or even the real subtlety around word of mouth and referrals? And then the last step in there is around your analysis. So how do you measure it? What do you do?
Yeah.
There's
Good old
you can
numbers.
fall down a rabbit hole with measurement, but I like sales without socials. I, re, I recommend people just do the bare minimum to start with when it comes to their measurement, and then get better and better at it. But don't be just trapped in this kind of paralysis of data.
That's the thing when you go into a Google Analytics, for example, or any sort of insights, you can look at it and just go, "Oh my god, where do I start? There's so much information here." But
Yes.
absolutely what you said, you've got to just start with the key things that you need to measure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
look, and I'm not a data girl, but I know I hate it. Like I hate numbers. Anything to do with budgets and numbers, I hate. Right, but I know.
Admin. Same here. Hate
Yeah.
admin.
I know how important they actually are for a
Mm,
business to be looking at, your content, you like, what are the channels that I'm using, what's working, what's not working. The numbers are factual. It's not,
mm.
"Oh, I think." It's like, well, the numbers actually tell the story and they are fact, and it is so
Yeah,
important.
yeah, that is so true. I did some work with a client recently, and there's just a simple spreadsheet. It's got your name, your client's name, some of their contact details, who they referred, and then it's got how many times they referred. So there's a column for what I'm calling super referrers. Now, it didn't take too long at all to work out that there was one or two people that was connected to this business that actually qualified as a super referrer. So there was three or four referrals coming through over the course of about a month, and it's like I've never really treated that person differently. I've never put them on a pedestal or thanked them in a way that they have just brought in all this business for me. So if tracking is has one virtue,
Yeah,
it's to identify the super referrers and maybe start a little club. Start a little
thank you.
tier within your business. So you've got all your clients and you love them all equally. There's no doubt about that. But the ones that are actually stepping above and beyond and bringing you all this extra business, can they get a free ticket to an event? I talked in the course that we were both on about gifting. I love gifting.
Yes.
You
I love
know,
gifting too. I have so much fun with gifting.
Oh, it is, and you're really good at branding and gifting and things like that. But the whole, so many businesses are vanilla bean boring when it comes to gifting.
Yeah.
And there's a great book if for your listeners. There's a guy that actually became a complete expert in gifting, and the book is called Giftology. So just Google
I
Giftology.
book. I'm
Yeah.
always for more ideas to find ways to gift to people. I love.
Oh yeah, and I'm read the book and then came back to a few different pages, and I've made some mistakes in my gifting history. Like, do
Yeah.
not put your logos on every single gift
Yes.
that you send out to clients. Like,
That's right.
if you give them a picnic blanket, that's great, but if half of it is your logo, then it's not really something they're going to love and use. And
Yeah, that's right.
I just very quickly, and this is wasn't in the book, but as a personal kind of story. My friend is an amazing chef, um, and I went to his place. Dinner at his place is cracking every single
I can
time,
imagine.
and he's chopping away. These great people who chop like this, not like this. Um, and his cutting board just was a plastic cutting board, and like it had a gutter, so your
Oh,
veggies don't roll off.
yeah.
Your meat, the juice from the meat doesn't go all over the bench. And I said, "What is that cutting board?" And it's called Joseph and Joseph or something. And I saw him do his work, and I went and bought this cutting board through the experience. So I valued his expertise in terms of cooking. So I saw his tool and I thought, if I want to be better in the kitchen, maybe this tool will help me. Kind of like a golfer buying the most
And
expensive
did it
golf club.
actually help you?
Well, you know what? Every time I use it, I think of cooking better, and I think of Bruce.
Yeah.
But what I did do is buy a lot of people chopping boards for Christmas. It's
Yeah.
personal, and
Yeah.
the great thing about that sort of gift is
I use it all the time.
every time it comes out for dinner, they might think of me. Who knows? Um, and that notion of having a gift that happens every day that keeps reminding. You get a bottle of wine and you drink it in the afternoon, and the story's done.
Hey, there's nothing
Um,
wrong with bottles of wine or champagne for gifts. Let's not go there. They're the
no,
best.
no, I won't. I
But I
won't.
hear what you're saying because once you've had it, it's gone, right? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, that's a whole other part. But it's that world again, another rabbit hole we could fall right down. But such an interesting space. And
Yeah.
and look, you got to be careful. Some industries like financial planners, they have lots of regulation and they can't give
Yeah.
gifts, and it's very tightly held. But if you're in creative space, like we are,
Yeah.
use your creativity. It's so interesting to get something that's delightful.
Absolutely. Um, so do you think when we talk about, when we talk about word of mouth and asking the question, do you think mindset comes into play when we think about referrals? So do you think people can really easily talk themselves out of it. Oh, they wouldn't want to refer me, or that's too hard, or I don't know how to ask. Like mindset is an important part of it, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. You hit on something really important. That the notion of mindset when it comes to referrals is pretty key because I think your words, I'm going to quote you. You can talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
It is it's kind of like public speaking.
Hmm.
It the I've built up a relationship with a particular client, but the fear to go and have that conversation is beyond me. I'm not going to do it. It's not my personality. I'm never going to go there, and that's why I think some flexibility around options around the direct ask or the subtle referral cues.
Yeah.
You've got to have the opportunity to think about both. And you're better off even just doing the subtle referral cues than not doing anything at all because really you're going to leave work on the table. So
Yeah.
look, yeah, I think you're right, absolutely, and I believe that this whole idea of spotting opportunities, is a great thing. I've got a client, Michael, who's a bit of a genius and a mentor of mine, and he says you've got to sniff the wind, Dave. You've got to sniff the wind for opportunities. And I thought, oh, I've never heard that before, but it's stuck
Yeah.
with me because that whole notion of being able to spot opportunities, being able to see the world as it really is, and understanding that once you get a little bit of that learnt behavior or that learnt skill, you transfer that learnt skill into a habit, and then you try and propagate that habit through all of your business.
Hmm.
So you've just hired a new staff member, and a module of their onboarding is your referral program.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
It's part of who you are. You may not be the sort of business that has $10 million to go and spend it on advertising,
Yeah.
but you may be the sort of business that treats your clients really well. You're open to helping them and they help you. I read somewhere, the idea of sharing referral goals is a really powerful insight as well. So, there was a book that I read, The Seven Levels of Communication, another really good book. And the notion of sharing referral goals and being two-way about it. So, first way, instead of saying, hey, this month I'm chasing 10 referrals, it's like, that's gross. Don't do that. But what you can say is, I want to give 10 referrals. So I want my business to give out business to others. So
Yep.
10 referrals I'll give, and I'd love to receive 5 referrals. So you can see the scales are balanced in the right way. You're not being gross.
Yeah.
You're giving more than you're getting,
Yeah.
but you've openly set a target. And I think that whole mentality of moving into this space where you're designing a referral business, I keep saying over and over and over to my students, you want to be a business built on referrals. And if you can get that sort of language in your website, in your socials, in everything that you do, then people will start to see you as that. And you'll start to become more open, or people will start to become more open to actually helping you out with it, and coming to your aid. So I think there's a real opportunity there to check mindset, be on the front foot all the time, be on the front foot. I spot the opportunity. Thank you, Michael. Stiff to the wind, as he says.
So obviously, I've done your sort of pilot course when you
Mm,
were doing that, and there was some stuff in there that for someone who's been in marketing for so long, I hadn't even thought of, and went, oh, I hadn't thought of actually creating a page for this or doing that or thinking
yeah,
of it
yep,
that way. So there's a lot of value in that. So just do you want to just share a little bit about what people can get from referral formula when they do this course? How long should it take them to do? Um,
yeah,
like, is it something that's easy for people who don't understand marketing to do as well? Because I think there's a lot of marketing courses that, as marketers, we understand, but then non-marketers are a bit like, this language is strange and I don't understand. I
yep,
know, I know that the answer to this is going to be yes, it's going to be easy because I've been through it. But
yeah.
give people, I suppose, a snapshot of what they can expect.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, it's a good question, and I think one thing that I have done, and you've been on the journey, so you understand kind of where I started and where I'm coming through now, and I've the idea of working professionally in the marketing communication space, working with brands in advertising agencies and direct businesses, the build up of knowledge that I've had over those years has kind of led me to where I am now. And if there's one thing that I've learned, especially through the referral pilot process that we went through, is that complexity kills everything. So what I've done is wound this course into something that is really simple for marketers, for non-marketers. And one thing that I've learned also through the process, through great feedback channels from you and all my students, is You've got to be careful with the tech also. I've done digital roles in different places, and I can't make any assumptions about what people's level of tech is.
Yeah.
So, for that in particular, there's opportunities to learn about how to build referral landing pages, for example, and that's probably at the northern end of expertise.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to do that, and if you don't have that tech capability, there is no platform you need to learn with this. There's nothing that will create anxiety around, I can't do that. Well, I've just talked for 10 minutes about, not another platform,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more kind of organic, the processes that I run through. um, and even if the course isn't of interest, just I would recommend signing up to the free newsletter stuff, because a lot of the stuff we've talked to today, I want to try and get out to as many people as I can.
Yeah.
I'm on a bit of a mission at the moment to try and elevate the status of word of mouth and referrals. And if you sign up to the newsletter, you get lots of information like that that will make you as knowledgeable as you possibly can be, even if you don't do that course. But once you get to the course, the idea of it is, um, it will run for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And there's a foundational piece, and then there's the seven A's, as I've kind of touched on today.
Yeah.
And then at the end of those 10 weeks, and the format will be that there'll be videos that you can watch, so you can do it all in your own time. And I know families, business life, everything else, time is our biggest asset. So you can run it all in your own time, and then there'll be Q&A sessions each week on that particular module. There'll be very limited homework to do each week as well, just so you have your own sense of accountability. I
Mhm.
think one thing that has been really valuable is bringing the cohort along with you. So, you can obviously get information from me and possibly another coach, but the idea of actually learning from the group is actually the really valuable thing. One
Yeah.
thing that I found through courses that
Right.
I've done,
Yeah.
courses that you've probably done as well, is that if there's someone completely out of my industry, that cross pollination is the thing that I get the most out of. So trying to build that up and
Yeah.
grow. And at the end of the 10 weeks, you will have your own customized referral program. So it'll be simple, but it'll be a foundation you can build on over time, and you can say, yes, now I'm in the business of building my business on referrals.
Love it. Where can they find it? Where do
Um,
they sign up for it?
Yeah, referralformula.com is the website, and there'll be various social pages and things like that. So come along to the website. As I said, sign up to that newsletter, and you get lots of free goodies that will have value in their own right. I want to make sure that there's no filler in any of this. We don't have time to read rubbish and just go on with the stuff that we
Yeah.
we are both rallying against in terms of just
Yeah.
flavorless content.
The
So
distractions. All those distractions
yes,
that we don't need.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we must absolutely listen to our own advice.
That's
Um,
note
so,
this
so
one, listen to own advice. Yes, that's a really good one. I know I don't always do it, but yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, likewise. But in this particular instance, I'm gonna be hard on it, because I
Yeah.
because I feel what we none of us as business owners and people who want to make any change in the world have time to just dribble out rubbish. So I want to make sure that each piece of that content, there's not a set formula. You won't necessarily get an email every Tuesday, but if I see something amazing in the world and I put it in there and I'll send it out to people, and the bar will be high in terms of the stuff that we do. And then, yeah, the course and the content can all be found at referralformula.com.
Cool. And I'll put all the links to that and the way that they can connect with you and the books that you've mentioned and stuff in the show notes as well, so they
Wonderful.
can grab that. But wow, there has been so much information there to unpack. And I think we've covered like just a lot of ground. And I think for me, I know going through this process with you, there was stuff that I was like, wow, like I hadn't even thought of referrals that way or didn't think of doing
Mm,
that. And I'm sure I know for fact that anyone that goes through that course is going to get so much value out of it, and it will open their eyes to a simpler way of doing things, which, as you know, I'm all about really simple marketing, making this easy for people, eliminating as much tech as possible,
Yep.
and doing it without a focus on bloody algorithms and social media and the constant changes that we can never keep up with on that. So, thank
Hallelujah.
you so much. I know, right? Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. And I'm so, these sorts of conversations do make me a little bit excited, if you can tell.
Oh, that's great. No, thank you, Tanya. It's been lovely chatting with you, and then
Thank
this has been really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing so much of your knowledge. It's very generous of you, and we'll definitely share all that in the show notes so people can go and take a closer look. Thanks, Dave. Have an awesome day.
Wonderful. Cheers. Bye bye.
See ya. Would you like to know how your business can make sales without using social media? Then a great place to start is with my free download, aptly named Social Free Sales. In it, I share 7 ways to supercharge your sales without a single social media post. And did I mention it's free? You'll find it at saleswithoutsocials.com.au. These are just a few thought starters, and I cover much more juicy content in the Sales Without Socials program. So sign up for the waitlist if that sounds good to you. And you'll also find links in the episode show notes as well. Until next time you tune in, never let anyone dull your marketing sparkle.